I was standing on my own cabin porch, coffee in hand, enjoying the morning air, when I heard that shrill voice behind me. "Hey, you! This isn't your property! Get off!" I turned around and saw her, Karen, with her fake pearls and perfectly ironed yoga pants, storming toward me like she owned the mountain. Before I could even respond, she pointed a finger at me and yelled louder, "I've reported you to the HOA. You're trespassing." I tried to explain that this was my land, inherited from my grandfather, but she wouldn't listen. Her husband joined in, saying I'd be arrested, and then they physically pushed me off my own porch. I didn't fight back. Not yet. I walked away without a word, because they didn't know something very important. Their precious pool, their weekend parties, even half their home, was sitting right on my land. Let me start from the beginning. Had come to the cabin to escape city noise and stress. This place wasn't just any vacation spot. It was my grandfather's pride. A wooden cabin sitting on 10 acres of land, surrounded by tall pine trees and quiet trails. After he passed away, the property came to me, and I kept it just the way he left it. Peaceful, untouched, and away from nosy neighbors. At least it was, until the HOA arrived. Over the years, people started building fancy homes nearby. And with those homes came Karen, the self-declared queen of the neighborhood. She formed an HOA and started bossing everyone around, even though half the people never agreed to it. I ignored her for the most part, until the day she claimed I didn't belong on my own land. That moment changed everything. She poked the wrong bear, and now she was going to feel the consequences. The day everything flipped, I had just arrived at the cabin after a long drive. I hadn't even unloaded my truck when I saw her standing at the edge of my porch with that fake wide grin. Karen. Arms crossed, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. "You again?" she said, as if I was the outsider. "Didn't the HOA send you a notice? This area is private now. Only authorized residents allowed." I calmly told her I owned the property. I even pulled out a copy of my grandfather's deed from the glove compartment, something I always kept with me. She didn't even glance at it. "That's old," she snapped. "The HOA has updated zoning rules. This porch, it's technically part of community space now." Her husband, Greg, walked over, flexing like he was about to start a fight. "You need to leave before we call the sheriff," he said. I stood there stunned. They were dead serious. Neighbors peeked from their windows, watching silently. Karen took that as support. She stepped up onto my porch, waving her phone like a weapon. "Leave now, or you're going viral for trespassing," she shouted. I could have argued. I could have yelled. But I knew something they didn't. So I slowly walked off my own porch and stepped back toward my truck. I didn't say a word. I didn't even look back. I just smiled, because what Karen didn't realize was that while she was building her perfect little HOA kingdom, she never checked the one thing that mattered most: property lines. And soon, she'd learn the hard way that the very ground under her sparkling blue pool didn't even belong to her. The moment I reached home, I went straight to my old file cabinet. Inside, under layers of dust and memories, were the original property papers my grandfather had kept safe for years. I carefully pulled them out, scanned each page, and there it was, clear as day. The property didn't just include the cabin and porch. It extended beyond the fence line, down the slope, and straight into what was now Karen's luxurious backyard, including her entire pool, patio, and part of her living room extension. I sat back and laughed. All this time, she had been strutting around like a queen while her castle was built on land that wasn't even hers. Still, I wanted to be sure. So I took those documents to a property lawyer in town. He reviewed them, then looked at me and said, "Son, you own that land outright. There's no easement, no HOA authority over it. If she built on your property, that's trespassing. That was all I needed. Next, I hired a professional land surveyor. Within a week, I had detailed maps, aerial views, and updated boundary reports. Everything proved what I already knew. Karen's pool was floating in my backyard. I didn't tell her right away. I let her enjoy one more weekend of barbecues, floating pool toys, and loud music. But behind the scenes, I was preparing a legal storm. I contacted the county office, filed a formal complaint, and had my lawyer draft a cease and desist order for unauthorized use of my land. Karen thought she had humiliated me when she kicked me off my porch. What she didn't know was that she had picked a fight with someone who didn't just own the porch, but owned the land under her feet. A week after sending the legal notice, I drove up to the cabin early in the morning, accompanied by the surveyor and my lawyer. Karen's house looked just as usual, her pool shimmering under the sun, kids laughing, and neighbors waving. But this time, I wasn't here to watch quietly. We walked straight to the property boundary. The surveyor marked the edges clearly, with bright flags and spray paint. I pulled out the legal documents, showing everyone exactly where my land ended and where Karen's trespassing began. Karen appeared on her porch, furious and shouting. "You can't do this! This is my backyard!" she yelled, storming down. But, I calmly explained, according to the land records and legal papers, this pool and part of your house are on my property. You've been trespassing. Her face went pale when I mentioned that I'd also ordered the county to cut off the water and power lines crossing my property to her pool area. The HOA tried to intervene, but when the official documents were shown, even they had no choice but to back off. Karen begged and pleaded, but I stayed firm. I told her she had 2 weeks to remove everything off my land, or face a lawsuit that would drain her finances. The neighbors started whispering, many quietly admiring how I stood my ground against Karen's bullying. For the first time in years, the neighborhood saw Karen's empire crumble. Her pool parties stopped, the music was silenced, and she avoided eye contact when I walked by. Finally, I sat back on my porch, the one she tried to kick me off from. This time, I was the one in control. Looking back, I never imagined a simple cabin porch could lead to such a battle. Karen's arrogance made her blind to the truth, that I owned more than just a porch. I owned the land beneath her feet. Standing up to her wasn't easy, but sometimes you have to fight for what's rightfully yours, no matter how small it seems. The best part? Watching her lose control over the pool she thought was hers forever. Now, my cabin is truly mine again, peaceful and quiet as it was meant to be. This whole experience taught me one thing: always know your rights and never let anyone bully you off your own land. What would you do if someone tried to take away a place you love? Have you ever faced a situation where standing your ground changed everything?